my W219 CLS, early 07 on a 56 plate. Throughout the life of these cars, a lot of people I think have realised that the exhaust kind of bracketry is a little bit questionable. Basically the brackets just kind of snap off of the exhaust due to kind of vibration, corrosion, etc. over the time of the car. Like I say, this is about to turn 14 years old. It's done 123,000 miles. Although I try and keep it as best I can, obviously. I'll show you what I mean. So under here, a lot of the cars kind of have this type of bracketry that's just, like I say, welded on. Over time, I think due to the difference in materials, I believe the actual pipes themselves are stainless steel, because they never seem to corrode. But the bracketry I assume is mild steel, and they just kind of snap off over time. Let me just switch my body around here, so using my other arm to point. Now you can see I've already replaced one there. Just move the light. Where it just snapped off, and that's a supporting bracket, but between the two pipes here, because it's a twin section pretty much all the way through, they kind of snap off. So let me just bring the light in. There's one there that I've just cut, but there was one on the other side, the same, as you can see there, and they literally just crack over time and come off. So that one had come off completely, which I noticed when it was up in the air having the wheel alignment done at somewhere. I said, oh, can I have a quick look underneath? I noticed it was snapped off, so I got them to basically just snap it off there. But you see, they're supposed to have a rod or a bit of metal that just connects them, just to keep them together. So what I'm going to be doing today is just replacing them with a homemade solution. So literally I've just cut through this with a hacksaw, like that. Oh, pretty stiff, but if I bend it up out of the way, so this one's obviously in better nick than the other one. But what I'm going to do is just kind of, it's a bit crude, but bend it back and forth, just try and get it to snap. Like I say, it's a weak point away from the actual weld, so it won't pull a weld and a big bit of metal out the exhaust, so I won't have a hole. But this is just going to be a video to kind of show what I do to replace them with kind of stainless cheap bits off of eBay. So let's see how we get on. What we've got to do, because obviously the brackets are bought far too big, we've just got to adjust this. So all I've done is wrapped it around. I'm going to start from this end. So this is, I'm going to use this hole, but what I'm then going to do is cut this down and drill another hole. So it's quite handy because it's got these slots in it, and actually it works out really well, because if I tighten that up roughly, if I then bend this other side, oh, I'll tighten out. If I bend this other side about here to then, you know, to create the same bend as that, I've then got this nice solid bit of metal without a gap that I can drill my hole into. So what I'm going to do, like I say, this is going to be a sort of rough marking up. It doesn't have to be absolutely exact, because there is actually a rubber sleeve. Let me get it. That comes with these, with a nice sort of groove in it, that will sit inside it like that as it goes round between that and the exhaust. So you need a little bit of leeway anyway. Anyway, so literally I've just got a Sharpie. This isn't concourse by any means, so I think what I'm going to do, just to leave a little bit of slack, I think, like I say, for that rubber, is mark it up sort of there, bend it about there, and like I say, I've got as much material as I want to then play with to cut down to make this section to create another hole. So yeah, like I say, it's not actually on this section of exhaust, by the way. It's further down. It's just there. But this one's a bit easier to get to. So yeah, on with the precision engineering. Oh, slipped. Lovely. Good. One of those. Right. Get me piece. Step on it. Where's the little indent? There it is. Tough stuff, this. Probably should do a pilot hole, but that extends the video. My hole's drilled, so now I'm just going to create a bend like that on that end. And the very technical way in which I'm going to do this is literally just to get a couple of sets of pliers. So the needle nose, there we go, kind of fairly square to where we want to bend. Like that. One of these. There we go. Like that. And that creates a fairly square thing. I might just put it in the vise and give it a little bash as well, just to squaring that off a bit. Now, if I bend this round, in a fairly circular way, should probably do it around something circular, but we'll have something that resembles what an exhaust bracket should look like, fairly. Let's try this a bit more. Actually, what I'll do, if I use these, pull them around a little bit, like so. It's the thick bits without the slots that are a bit stiff. Bend that the other way. There we go. Once it's all tightened up, it will form the correct shape anyway, but there we go. That is roughly what we need. So I've just got to make another one. There you go, that's both done. And for the third piece, another bit of stainless. Pre-drilled, quite handy. Just realised I also need to cut these rubber bits down as well, because they're obviously too big now. Right, so back under the car. I've got the, excuse all the crawling around. I've got the two brackets on and they fit pretty well. There's a couple of different places I can put them. If I put them in front of the welds, sort of further near the front of the car, sort of the bit of metal that's going to go between them will hit the back of the diff, or final drive as I should call it. If I put them over the welds, so physically in the same place like that, it's a little bit too small, the diameter of the new bracket. So what I'm going to do, just put them slightly behind the welds like that. And what I've done is I've chopped down this piece of stainless metal that I bought for the bit to go in between. It just so happens that rather than using the actual holes, I've actually chopped a couple of bits off and a couple of sort of big sections off the end after the holes, and then I'm just going to use the slots to put the bolt through. So that is, I'm not sure if you can see, but that's pretty much the right width, even though it doesn't look it from here because it's close up, but it is. And the good thing is, because these exhausts actually branch outwards, they get wider the further you come back. So, you know, if it's a bit tight there, I can just simply bring the whole assembly back a little bit, so that it's all nice and tight. So I'll get on with that. Right, so my precision engineering wasn't quite precision enough. The reason being, even with this fully closed, there's still a little bit of, you know, it will hold itself, but if you try and move it, it will move. So it just needs to be a bit tighter. Obviously, I can't really do anything this end because the holes are drilled. I could put big washers here and move this bend over a bit, but it's too much mucking about. So I thought the piece I chopped off earlier, I'll use away from the open bit, like that. That should take up all the slack. And then what I'm planning is one of these, smaller washer, bigger washer, obviously that. It'll then go through the edge here, that, a couple of bolts, and then I'm going to thread lock it as well, because obviously it'll be due to a lot of vibration, hence I'm double bolting it, and that, a lot of vibration, a lot of heat. So yeah, the reason I'm putting this on the outside rather than in the middle, again, is to get that as tight as possible, just to close it. I mean, I know it's only, I don't know, 0.8 mil or something, but, you know. So anyway, eventually, it should look like that end. Right, so I've just bolted everything up. It was a bit fiddly, having to hold like 20 things at once. Sorry, I've not completely bolted it up, it's on hand tight. So what I was saying about the adjustment, I can literally move these backwards and forwards, you know, depending on how tight I want it to be. So I'm just going to literally pull it back sort of equally both sides. It should hopefully be, what's the word? Parallel. Well, it should be opposite each other. Looks about right. About that far. That's a bit further actually, that one. Push that forward slightly. That one back. Ugh. So what I'll probably do is nip everything up there, and then job should be a good one. So yeah, like I say, I'll tighten all this up, I'll get some thread lock on, and then I'll get the second nut on there, and that should be it. So yeah, there are things that you can make up at home. I don't know what Mercedes would advise. They probably wouldn't advise no exhaust, that's extreme, but someone would try to weld it on, and chances are it'll go again. But yeah, that should all be good, so I hope you found that helpful. I should probably point out, this is, like I say, this is W219 CLS. My old E-Class, which is W211 chassis, have exactly the same kind of problems with all their exhaust bracketry, because they're basically exactly identical car underneath, bar, you know, slightly different suspension, damper rates, stuff like that, and geometry. So it's pretty much identical car. But like I say, I've had two go on this one. So there's the one down there that you can see that I repaired. This side then went. So yeah, they all go eventually. One other thing I've got to do actually, whilst I'm here, on this corner, this is just a corner piece, it's not holding anything, but it's actually a crack that's formed. I assume where there's a lot of pressure where that holds it, but what I'll do is I'll just drill a hole there to stop it in its tracks. There's a tiny bit of gas escaping from there, but it's not the end of the world because the tailpipe's just there. And also while I'm under here, I've got a loose heat shield. The bolts come off that, so I'll replace that. So hopefully no more rattles. Everything should be all good and support properly. Cheers.